there's a reason I go on TV and if I'm doing basketball highlights, I'll talk about my old gym teacher, Mr. Jankov, and using the backboard. Because that's what I know.
What is his name?
Mr. Jankov, Jankov.
That I'm sure he didn't get a hard time.
No.
I'll never forget my buddy.
Hard time?
My buddies David and Craig Clark. They're in gym class, and it was grade 6, and I think he was talking to Craig. And the Clarks had a long line of guys who'd come through school. And that's the thing about going to school in a small town. You know, they know your relatives and they'll often judge you by your dad. Like my mom had the same teachers I had. And so Mr. Jankov, this is the first class. And Mr. Yankov's going through the roll call. He goes, Craig Clark. Imagine having a name like Clark. And Craig looks right at him. He goes, better than a name like Jankov. Right away.
No.
Out of here, boy! Because that's how Jankov would kick at a gym class. Out of here, boy! And he'd always point up because the locker room was upstairs.
Like he's a 70s umpire.
Yeah. I'm not lying, boys. We'd play softball. Remember the old school American League umps? How they had that chest protector holding them? We'd play underhand softball. Jankov would be back there with the chest protector holder in full mask. Strike! Like, it was awesome. And I love Jankov. Carlisle Berries, shout out. That's his berry company in Caribou Island, Picton, Nova Scotia. And he was a riot. He'd have he'd have simple rules. No cutoffs, no work boots, no beer shirts, no cigarettes. One day, grade 8, last day of gym class, Luke Naylor comes down, work boots, cutoff, an alpine beer shirt with cigarettes up under the shoulder. Luke walks into gym class. Jankov turns around without any more words. Out of here, boy! It was awesome. Like, it was a competition to see who could get kicked out. It was fantastic.
That's amazing.
I am now living in deep regret of not going to school with you.
Oh, like seriously, it was nuts. Gym class was nuts, and he'd have Greco-Roman wrestling, and of course to teach Greco-Roman wrestling, Haroon, get over here, and he'd just take Mark Haroon, he'd flop him around on the mats, and then one day David Clark and Craig Clark, they wanted to fight. So they told Jankov that they wanted to have a wrestling match for the school, for its class started. So Jankov goes, all right, boys, get the mats out. So they get the mats out, and Jankov goes, the Clark boys are going to wrestle for us. So he's like, because Jankov couldn't whistle, so he'd go, to start. So he'd do that. So the wrestling match started, and so all Craig and David
And you just let them fight each
Yeah,
other?
oh yeah, he'd like to fight.
You couldn't do that today.
No, you could not.
When did you
would be
go to high
sued.
school?
I graduated in 92. So this gym class,
okay.
this gym class would have been
I
like
thought you were
88.
talking about like, oh my God.
And this gym class would have been like 88. So Craig and David, they fist fight for 5 minutes, and Jankov goes, enough, and he goes, I thought you boys were gonna Greco-Roman wrestle. So that was it. And like, you'd play floor hockey, and if a fight broke out, Jankov, he was like an NHL linesman. He'd let you go.
Wow.
Like, it would just, you'd fight, and that fight would be over, and he'd go, boy, you that corner, and you're out of here. Whoever started the fight, or perceived to start the fight, was out of here, boy. Like,
I wish I grew up 25 years ago.
And the other thing about Jankov was, this is, shoot a three-pointer, boy. Well, why don't you do it, Mr. Jankov? I don't have to prove myself to you. The only thing he'd do for a display was the old rings. Remember the rings?
You could do that?
You guys had
Jankov
those?
was jacked.
That's a strong gym
He'd do the
teacher.
rings. Just sit there and get red. It was awesome. Hey, Mr. Jankov.
Oh my God.
Like,
I hope he hears this somehow.
He will. He knows I talk about him on TV. I see him every summer. Usually when I go home, he's awesome.
That is unbelievable. So you do go back every summer, right?
Oh, yeah. I got to go back. Yeah. Love it back
East
home.
Coast is the best.